everybody, welcome back to Fish the Mark. Appreciate you joining in on the channel today. It's been a little while since I put some new material out. I got a new GoPro camera this winter, and honestly I've had some challenges getting it to work the way I wanted it to. I think I'm starting to get it figured out, but it caused me to miss quite a few fish catches on camera that I had from the spring, and so I think I'm getting it figured out. But we'll see how the rest of the year goes. What I'm going to talk about today is I made a trip at the end of May, actually May 27th and May 30th, over to Banner Marsh in Peoria County, just south of Peoria, and fished East Access. And so thought I would split that into two short videos, one here on kind of overview in day one, and then another video on day two, which will come out next week. So this is the day one video. For those of you who don't know, Banner Marsh is south of Peoria. Come out on 24, come down here, and this is the Banner Marsh State Fish and Wildlife Area. There's really three main access points into Banner Marsh. There's East Access, Main, and then Bell's Landing. And I did a video back in March on Main Access, which is, I believe, Johnson Lake. And then, so this one's on East Access and Wheel Lake. And so the ramp for Wheel Lake is here. You actually have a kind of a weird way that you come into the lake or come into it on the gravel roads, come down, and the ramp is right here. There's a marshy area here that you can fish as part of the lake. And then this long Y is a long, deep strip mine area. There's a cut through right here that you can go through and fish this largely marshy area with some deep drops in it. And this is very marshy down here that you can fish as well. So that is the lake that I'm fishing for this video. East Access, years and years ago, and it's been 15 years since I'd fished this lake. So this was almost rediscovering the lake for me because it had been so long since I'd fished Banner Marsh East or Wheel Lake. And so when I looked at iFish Illinois, I'll include the link here down below in the comment section so you can go out and take a look for yourself. You can see they're still developing things like catfish and white bass in the lake. The bass fishing is good and the muskie fishing is very good. It used to be years ago when I used to fish tournaments out here 15, 20 years ago, that if you went to East Access, that's where all the big fish were. According to the DNR, actually Main Access has better bass fishing, but the bass fishing at East is really pretty good, and there's still some good sized fish in there. So I think it's well worth the trip to go there. Wheel Lake, like all Banners, a 25 horsepower limit lake. They just now changed the rules at Banner to where 25, if you have over 25 horsepower, you can out idle on the lake instead of only being able to use your trolling motor. So if your horsepower, your gas engine's over 25 horsepower, you can idle only on the lake and move around, which enables you to move around the lake a lot better. Wheel Lake is about 350 acres. And so it's a decent sized lake. It is an old strip mine, and there are like really deep pockets surrounded by really shallow water. And sometimes it feels a little random where the deep and the shallow is. And so I caution you as you maneuver through the lake for the first time to kind of be cautious about moving through it and how to get through it, just because it seems like you should be in 40 feet of water, and you might be in 40 feet of water, and the next second you're in 3 feet of water. And so it's important to kind of keep your eye on your graph as you're driving through the lake. This is the map, a closer up view of the map of the lake. When I fished on day one, I started back here along this shore here with a buzzbait. I had a variety of blowups, but did not get anything in the water in the boat, and so I decided not to show the blowups on that. Once I finished fishing here for about an hour, I came down, went through this cut right here, which I idle through that cut when I go through it. Guys that really know the area, they'll go through it on plane. I don't know it well enough, so I go through it idle until I get to about right in through here, and then I'll take off on plane. And what I ended up doing is I ended up fishing this red line right here. So there's a canal that goes through between this island and the shore here. Last time I fished this lake before I went in May, this canal that goes all through here had trees that stuck out of the water. In fact, when you went through this island area, there was a canopy of trees that went over, and you were in the shade when you fished it, honestly. All those trees have aged, died and aged, fallen in. And so there's no longer really any trees that stick out of the surface at all. But the canal is still here, and there's still a lot of timber under the water. And so you'll see that I ended up getting on a pattern here. It took me a little while to figure the pattern out of throwing a rocket craw, Texas rig rocket craw into the timber and working it and catching fish. And I ended up catching more fish than I caught on video. As I described, I had a little bit of a video problem getting used to my new camera. But I did capture on camera about 4 or 5 fish that I caught out of this area. I think 4 fish out of this area that I caught. And so we'll go through and show how I caught those fish and talk through that a little bit. But it was flipping that rocket craw up into the trees and working on the trees. And I actually got to a point where I could call my shot. They were pretty consistent. They were on, for whatever reason, they were on this east side of the canal. You didn't catch really any on the west side of the canal. And so the trees that were on the east side, and if it was a horizontal tree where they had horizontal cover they could hide under with the tree, you would catch one. If it was simply a vertical tree, there wasn't anything there. And so that is the pattern that I picked up and fished. And so I caught, like I said, I ended up really catching like 6 or 7 through there, but I only got 4 or so on video. So we'll take a look at those 4 in a few minutes. And then when I got done with that, I ran down here because I knew there was a variety of down trees down here that I could fish. So I went down to fish those and saw a school of shad busting, and we'll show the video of seeing the school of shad busting, picking up a judder jig, a bladed jig, and throwing it in there and catching a fish out of that. It was just kind of neat to see the fish busting, throwing in there and catching one out of it. So we'll show that video as well. So let's take a look at the catches and what we did for those. Here we are out on the water, and this is that island that I talked about earlier and the canal that goes through it. Now this canal actually starts way down here on the south end, goes all the way up through the north. It's actually quite long, how long it goes. Like I said, it's been 10, 15 years since I fished this lake. It used to be, there were trees all lined up on both sides of the canal, and there used to be, when you fished between the island here, the trees grew over and formed a canopy there that you could fish in the shade the whole time you were under there. But all those trees have all died, fallen in, fallen over, and the ones out here have all died and fallen in, fallen over as well. So there's still trees under the water that you can fish, but you no longer see them above the surface like you used to. So that took me a little bit to get used to when I went there. But this is the fish that gave me a clue what was going on. It's just a little bitty, 10, 12 incher that I caught or that I hooked. But it showed me that the fish were on horizontal trees, and they were all on the east side for whatever reason. I couldn't catch a fish on the west side of this canal. They were all on the east side, and they had to be a horizontal tree. If it was a vertical wood structure, you wouldn't get bit, but if it was a horizontal structure, you would catch fish off of it. So here's my first decent fish going through there on a lay down tree. Got him right there on the rocket craw. And then you can see here, I cast out to this, you see that little tree tip there. That's all that's left of the tree that you can see visibly, but with your polarized sunglasses, there's actually a significant laydown right here with a bunch of limbs and stuff on it. So there's a lot of tree there to fish. And thought I got a good hook set on this fish. Got him up so I could see him pretty good, and he just came unbuttoned. I'm not really sure how I missed him, quite honestly. And then here's another one where I cast out. You can't see it above the surface, but there's a an underwater tree there that has a lot of horizontal structure, and so I was able to work it and pick one up out of there that was a nice 17-inch bass. There we go. And unfortunately, I'd caught 3 or 4 others doing that same pattern. But like I said, I'm having camera problems, trying to do some fancy stuff with the GoPro camera, and it's causing me to miss fish catches. So I've either got to quit getting cute and fancy with it, or I got to get it figured out. But in the meantime, a little bit later on, was down up at the very kind of north end of the lake, and I saw these shad busting over here. And so I switched over to a Judder Jig, which is a bladed jig, and put the trolling motor on high and ran over there to fish those. So you'll see me get over there and make a long cast with that Judder Jig. It's a 1/2-ounce Judder Jig, so you can throw it quite a ways. So make a long cast with it and bring it through those busting shad and the bass that were feeding on them. So here I've moved, now I've moved up to them, made that long cast to the Judder Jig with the Judder Jig to the things, and got a hit. He kind of came off and then came back and popped it again, and there now I've got him on there. Not a big fish, about a 14-incher, but it was kind of cool to see him bust and go over there, cast in and catch him. So that was some of the fish catches from the day. That day 1 that I had. Day 2, the lures and techniques ended up being different, so we'll share that shortly. All right, as I said, I caught the majority of the fish this day on a rocket craw. You can see a picture of it here, Texas rigged, 1/4-ounce tungsten sinker on it, and that's what I was pitching up into that horizontal wood. And then for that bass that I saw bust in the shad, I picked up the Judder Jig, a white Judder Jig. It looks like a shad, and fired it in there and caught that fish out of there. So those were the lures of the day. Day 2, when I go back a couple days later and fish, ended up being almost a completely different pattern and different lures. So it'll be I'll be able to share that on the Day 2 video as well. So thanks for joining. Appreciate you joining. Feel free to let me know how you catch them on East Access at Banner Marsh, and where you think some of the best spots are, and what you think I should do differently on these videos. I appreciate any comments. So thank you very much. Have a great day.